Hey guys, today we're going to be going back to aircraft again, and we'll be looking at another Revell kit in their 1/32nd scale Spitfire Mk.IXc. So let's open her up and take a look. This will take a second, as it is one of the side open type boxes, so this will hopefully go fairly quickly. Everybody, okay. So starting with our first fuselage half, one thing that immediately jumps out at me is the level of detailing on the surface here. Hopefully this will show up on camera, but all the panel lining is very crisp and sharp. It's really well done. I'm truly impressed with the work that Revell has done on this kit. And truth be told, I cannot wait to see what this thing will look like with a nice panel line wash. To note, the rudder assembly is done separately, so that is something to be aware of, and our exhaust nozzles are separate as well. We have several options there. We'll discuss them when we get to them. On this half of the fuselage, we also get some molded in detailing. Not a whole lot to say there. Another thing to note, it only gives you one option for the cockpit, as far as either the earlier style of canopy or the later bubble top. This does not have the option for or the bubble top. I do know some late model Mark 9s did get the bubble top, as well as the I want to say the Mark 16, which is based on Mark 9. Again, this is something you're going to need to check your references carefully on, as there is a lot of very fine minutia that, there are some things you can get away with using certain mark numbers, whereas others you won't be able to. So be careful and do your homework before you start building. Okay. Put these away. Moving on to our first upper wing half, much the same detailing as we saw on the fuselage, as well as the various bumps and bulges for the 20mm cannon. Ailerons are not included with the wings, as they're done as separate assemblies. Another thing to note, the wing tips are clipped, as the kit includes option parts for either the standard elliptical wing or the clipped wing version that some of the late Mark 9s did have. So again, check your references for the particular aircraft that you're going to be building. But it is nice that they do include the option parts for that you don't have to source them from another kit or look for a specific subvariant. Oh, and what I'm also thinking about, on the underside of the wing halves, we do have molded in detailing for the main gear bays, as well as the upper portion of the flaps. I'll skip over that fuselage have. Now, much as I was saying earlier, as far as the detailing on the kit, here hopefully it'll come in. If it didn't come in on the fuselage halves, should hopefully come in on this, our main underwing section. Excuse me. Again, detailing is just superb on this kit, and hopefully this will really show that off. Another thing to note, the supercharger inlets, radiator inlets are molded separately. So it does give you the option to properly detail those. Now, staying on with the wings, we have our two halves for the various styles of wingtips. Here we have our elliptical, as well as our horizontal stabs and the elevator again, molded separately. On these, I would have liked to have seen them molded as single piece assemblies instead of the two halves, as this would, in my opinion, simplify, can't talk. Simplify assembly, as well as making easier to clean up and give a crisper looking edge. Much the same here with the rudder. Also in this sprue, we have two main sidewalls for the cockpit, as well as the gear bays and a couple other odd and in bulkheads for the cockpit. Put this away. Now, moving on, we have our main cockpit sprue, which includes all the various subassembly components to build it up. Here we have our main front instrument panel. Don't know how well this will show up on camera, but none of the gauges are molded in. All of them are provided with a separate decal. Unfortunately, they chose to go, and we'll see that once we start talking about the decal sheet, with the classic black panel and decal instruments included. I would have preferred if it was just the instrument themselves, with us having to paint in the black. I think this is a misstep, as especially in this larger scale, you'll more easily be able to make out the gauges. Continuing on with this sprue, we have our ailerons here, again done as two separate parts, as well as the underside of the flaps and the cockpit floor. Overall, the detailing here is much the same, very sharp. I'm truly impressed with the mount that they give you right out of the box. Definitely something to look forward to on building. Continuing on, we have our two different styles of exhaust nozzles for the engine. This is an area where I feel they dropped the ball, as they did it as two separate halves. Doing it this way is going to make cleaning these parts up difficult, to say the least, as getting into all those areas to get any seam lines is going to take a long time and a lot of unnecessary effort, in my opinion. We also have our spinner, which is nicely done. Definitely also helps give you another idea of just how big this thing is. As well as a couple other odds and end parts for the various munitions, as well as a single bomb, our chin inlet, and our nose gear doors. Continuing on, we have two, if I can get this unhooked, two sprues containing smaller bombs, as well as our prop blades. Again, you're included only a single prop configuration. Another thing you're going to need to check references on to make sure you're using correct propeller, is again, there's so many minute subvariants that it gets confusing, to say the least. Two more odds and end part component sprues. Not a whole lot to say there. Now, this is another area where I feel that they definitely could improve the kit. Unfortunately, I got a phone call. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. As I was saying, regards to the wheels, this is one area where I feel like Revell kind of dropped the ball. And the detailing on these is bulbous and severely lacking. If you're going to go aftermarket, I would say this is one area to look at potentially doing it. Otherwise, yeah, there's not a whole lot to say about these. They're pretty poor. Now, continuing on to our clear parts, as I was saying, using the main canopy as an example, color parts are nicely done. It would be nice if they were just a tad thinner, but otherwise they're nice. They did a great job with these as well. The clarity is superb, and you do have a nice mold line to mask with. Here on this sprue, we also have our the clipped wing style. I don't know why they chose to do it in clear. I'm guessing because they molded in the position lights, but no, it's just an oddity in my opinion. We also have our gun sight and rear view mirror, front windscreen, much the same. Wait, and more parts as well as another canopy part. Moving on to the decals. Now, as I was saying before, they chose to do the instrument panel details as this one singular black decal for both the main panel as well as the 6-pack. I would have preferred if they had gone doing just the gauges, as this would, in my opinion, been better, would allow us to more easily get those on, and would better represent the detail without having to position and get the decal in. So I would say also, if you have the means to punch out the gauges, great, go that route. If not, I would say maybe try to source elsewhere. Beyond this, though, we do get two marking options, one for an RAF bird and one for a New Zealand bird, and as well as the stencil information for both. Overall, decals are nice in register. Color is superb. Overall, a very nice job there. Moving on to the instructions, finally. Much like all aircraft, assembly starts in the cockpit. The only issue I see here is some of the small detail parts. It's going to take a little bit of making sure you're getting everything done in the proper order. Beyond that, though, that it's very straightforward. There's no real sort of gotcha other than just working with some fine detailed parts, especially some of these smaller and thinner parts. So it is something to be aware of. Beyond that, though, the assembly is straightforward. There's no sort of areas I see tripping people up. The only area I would say is, making sure you're using the correct parts for the type you're intending to build. And there's not a lot to say here as far as that's concerned. I mean, overall, they've done a fantastic job with this kit. I'm thoroughly impressed. The assembly is no nonsense and straightforward. Then moving on to our marking options, as I said, RAF bird and a New Zealand bird. Do like the fact they included a non-European colored scheme aircraft in the option set, though I would have preferred if they had included a few more options. Maybe a desert bird, or possibly even a post-war bird that had been sold to another nation. But overall, I'm thoroughly impressed with this kit. Revell has done a great job. The kit is nicely detailed. There's no real sort of gotchas, so surprisingly, I would actually recommend this as a good introductory large-scale kit. I mean, it is definitely one to consider if you're looking to either, build Spitfires, or if you're looking at, getting into larger scale modeling, it is a fantastic entry level kit. I would even say for a beginner modeler is one to consider. The only area being, potentially causing headaches being the cockpit. And that's mostly just due to the number of small details you gotta get in. Beyond that, though, Revell's done a great job. And what's more, and this is the thing that just absolutely kills me, is it's rather inexpensive. I actually picked this kit up for about $30. So to be able to get that level of detail for that price point is a fantastic deal. So this is one I highly recommend. If you like World War II at all, if you like aircraft at all, this is definitely one to look at picking up. So, that was a look at Revell's 1/32 scale Spitfire Mk.IXc. Until next time.